You all know Mike Wilner talks Blue Jays on the Deep Left Field podcast. Blue Jays columnist as well. Mike, welcome back. I got to tell you, man, the Bluebirds are not doing this the easy way, are they, here in this second half of the MLB schedule?
Yeah, nobody ever does it the easy way, do they? I mean, it really is amazing. In May, I talked to Kevin Gausman. Things were going well, and the Blue Jays were doing the things that they were supposed to be doing. They were about to complete a sweep of the Pirates in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh was in first place, and they started the season 20-8 or something like that. And Gausman said to me at the time, it's going to come down to the last 2 weeks. It always comes down to the last 2 weeks, no matter how good you are, no matter how easy you think things are going to be. It always comes down to the last 2 weeks, and he was 100% right. Nobody expected this Toronto-Texas series to be as huge as it is going to be, but it is. That's the way things have worked. The Blue Jays have disappointed. Texas has had the bottom fall out over the course of the last month or so for them, and you know, here we are.
Here we are. I will ask you this. What will be the factors that will determine whether this team gets into the playoffs or not? I'm not of the trained eye. What do they need to shore up to win this particular series this week and the rest of the way to get into the dance?
Well, it's going to be hard to win the series this week because they shot themselves in the foot last night. They were by far their own worst enemy. Chris Bassett let a runner get to him and balked a run home. There was a terrible send home for Kevin Kiermaier with nobody out in the third inning. They did a lot of things wrong, and they had been doing a lot of things right for a while. I mean, they'd won 7 of their last 9 games going in, and Texas had lost 16 of 22. So in order to win the series, though, they've got to win the next 3, and that's tough, but that would secure them the tiebreaker over Texas and obviously would open up a 3.5-game lead over the Rangers. It's not going to be easy to do. What they need to do is just continue to play the way they played against Kansas City and Colorado and Oakland and against Boston earlier in August when they swept them. Have the pitching working, have the hitting working, have the defense working. Don't beat yourself. The Blue Jays have beaten themselves far too many times this season. But we had thought that it was cleaning up. It certainly did not last night, and that's what they've got to do. More than one person on this team has said that when the Blue Jays play their A game, nobody can beat them. And I believe that that's right. When they are on with all facets of the game, they're among the best teams in the major leagues. And we saw it back in May when they swept Atlanta, and Atlanta's been a phenomenal team this year. That's what they have to do. Just don't beat yourself, and things will wind up going very well. You know, there are, 22 games left in the season. I think maybe 19. I'm not sure. I think they're 80 and 63, so it will be 19 games left in the season. They're not going to win all of them. They're probably not going to win 2/3 of them. But if they win, if they go 11-8 to close it out, they'll be fine.
Let me ask you this. I don't know if you have a vote for these things, and if you do, I apologize for overlooking that. But who would you vote for as MVP of the Blue Jays this year?
I don't have. I mean, there is no. I guess I have a vote because the Toronto chapter of the Baseball Writers Association gives away those awards at the end of every year. I mean, I think, without having really thought about it much, to make a snap decision, I think it's probably Bo Bichette. When he's been their best hitter by far. He has improved defensively to the point where he's probably a slightly above average defensive shortstop. Before he got hurt, he was in line to win a batting title and lead the league in hits for a 3rd straight year. And he's really, as much as they say, as George Springer goes, so go the Blue Jays. Springer hasn't had a great year, but when he's been great, the team has won. Bo Bichette has been the steady constant every time he's been in the lineup. I'll take a good look at it and hammer away at it, and I will poll the players as I do every year to find out who they think the MVP of the team is. But I think if I had to vote right now, it would be Bo Bichette.
I appreciate the answer because we watch almost every Blue Jays game, and while I played baseball, I don't consider myself in any way an analyst. The woman I live with lives and dies with the Blue Jays. I asked her that question, and she says there is no clear answer to that. And I can't feel like that's a good thing.
Well, it can be a great thing because it can mean that a whole bunch of people are contributing.
There's a lot of candidates, yes.
To a winning team,
Yeah.
right. But this year, not so much. I mean, we expected Vladimir Guerrero to have a much better year. We expected George Springer to have a much better year. Alejandro Kirk to have a much better year. Whit Merrifield was going really well, but, he's not a guy who hits for much power, and he's only had one hit in a week now as we speak. The pitching has been tremendous, but it has been really well spread out over the entire starting rotation. Jordan Romano has been wonderful with just 3 blown saves at the back of the bullpen, and the whole bullpen has been terrific. Like Tim Meza has been incredible. He's got an ERA at like 130. I don't think he hadn't given up a run to an American League team until the end of August. There are a lot of candidates on the pitching side. Dalton Varsho and Kevin Kiermaier have been unbelievable defensively all year, and that has made the pitching look really good. But there haven't been, it's true, any real standout offensive performances. I think if you had said at the beginning of April that we'd be sitting here on September 12th and the Blue Jays home run leader would have 21, we would all be floored. So it's true that there hasn't been a standout offensive performer on the team. But it's funny, when you build your team around pitching and defense like the Blue Jays have, and you get that pitching and defense, sometimes you don't get those tremendous offensive performances, although there's a lot of offense on this team that just hasn't lived up to expectations.
Yeah, and now isn't the time to reflect on the offseason, but I would say the Kevin Kiermaier signing's been fantastic, and the Brandon Belt one hasn't been that bad either. What's your assessment of that, the augmentations? Because as we sit here today, they are in a playoff spot. Let's be honest. They could be playing playoff baseball, and that was the goal.
That's the goal, right? All you got to do is make it in. You can't guarantee yourself a division title, even though we all thought they would be competing for it, and they didn't. But the only thing that matters is making the playoffs. That's it. The only thing that matters. And right now they're in a playoff spot. They're in fact, in the second wild card spot in the American League. They're ahead of Seattle. They're ahead of Texas, who's third, and Seattle, who's a half game behind the Rangers. So all that is good. As much as the doom and gloom surrounds them, they're probably going to win 90 games. Most of the games they have left, all but 6, are against teams that are behind them in the standings. There are a lot of good signs in what's been a very disappointing and frustrating year. And I totally forgot. Oh, the offseason, right. Kevin Kiermaier, wound up being a fantastic signing. The thing with Kiermaier was he going to be able to stay healthy? And he's been on the injured list, but only once and only for 10 days. He has posted and he has gone out and been, like he said, the best 9-hitter in the American League and provided phenomenal defense. I know a lot of people are upset about the Dalton Varsho trade, but Dalton Varsho is the best defensive outfielder in the major leagues. And the fact that the Blue Jays have such a good defense is the reason that they have such good pitching. I said it at the beginning of the season. You're going to look at the end of the season and say, man, they pitched great. What a great pitching year this team had. And it's going to be because of Dalton Varsho and Kevin Kiermaier and Matt Chapman and having George Springer in right field instead of center. And that's exactly what's happened. That stuff doesn't show up in the box score, but Dalton Varsho has had such an incredible defensive season. He has made this pitching look really, really good. They did what they accomplished. What they set out to do in the offseason was to get more left-handed, to be better defensively. And all that happened, but Vladdy had a down year. Springer had a down year. Jansen got hurt 3 times. He was having a terrific year. Kirk had a down year. Chapman had a down year. So the guys that were here already didn't live up to their end of the bargain. As far as Brandon Belt goes, he's again suffering from the back, and I'd be surprised if they didn't put him on the injured list today. I saw him in the clubhouse after the game last night, and he was looking like me when I throw my back out, and it's which is not pretty. But when he's been in the lineup, look, he's their best hitter. He's leading the team in OPS among every player who, is not part of the Buffalo bunch, those three guys who've only been here for a month, Schneider and Clement and Horowitz. But for people who've been here the whole year, Brandon Belt has been their best hitter. So absolutely, they hit on that too. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy.
A wonderful update. I hope the next time we're previewing the playoffs or talking about the playoffs. Mike, thank you. Enjoy the baseball.
Would not surprise me if we're previewing the playoffs at the beginning of October. Thanks, Rod.
Outstanding. The great Mike Wilner from the Deep Left Field Jays podcast.